I can't tell right now if your thing is just to be contrarian. Seems like you're just like, whatever your position is, I'm gonna take the opposite and I'm gonna say something really quickly and try to say, well, how do we know? And it's like, that's actually quite boring. That's not you being interesting, that's you being obnoxious. Oh, well, you know, if you have kids, then you can't just smoke pot and stay in bed and be naked all day. This is actually something that like Seth Rogen just said.
Okay.
What you're doing
Sounds
there is
awesome.
you're actually trying to, you're 30, how old are you? You're 35 years old.
Yep.
So you don't believe in anything. Is what you're saying.
Is that what you got from that?
What you're doing as a 35-year-old man is you're lying. You're just lying to
Do you think
people.
I'm telling?
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be watching a debate between Candace Owens and Destiny.
Spit on that thing, you get me?
I enjoy this debate because it's interesting to watch the way that Candace goes about this and the angle that she comes from. Because we often see Destiny get into these debates where he talks really fast and he tries to spurg and get in a little rhetoric war, but Candace Owens doesn't do that. And it works really well for her. And also, when she's speaking to beta males like this, she is in her element because she has absolutely zero time or respect for these little weak men. And she just lets him have it towards the end of this video, which is fantastic. Anyways, there's this little weird chat thing in the bottom of left corner there. So instead of having that, we're just going to replace it with this. Just joking. Don't worry, I wouldn't put you through that. We'll just blur it out. Anyways, we'll start with the back and forth about Diddy and Epstein and considering what has happened since then, because this was right when the Diddy stuff was first breaking, when Candace Owens was all over it. Considering what we know now, it has aged very well for Candace.
Your side of the story, people are basically like, we're hopeless. There's nothing we can do.
No, it's not hopeless, but if you want to be able to do something about something, you need to be able to acknowledge the something, right?
What would
you can't make it like it's a conspiracy. It's like, no, when I graduated high school, there wasn't a single trans kid. Now you've got like more than 50% of kids that think that they're other. That is obviously propaganda. Clearly, it's just not possible that you didn't exist. Maybe there was one person, and then all of a sudden everyone is.
Sure, I think it's okay to draw
that can
the
only
line.
happen. That can only happen through propaganda, right?
Maybe,
They're suddenly being told it's an option. They're kids, right? You want to experiment and you want to be different. You're looking for a way to stand out, and so you hold on. And in the classrooms, you've got teachers that are reinforcing this narrative that is, yes, top down, right? It's like Hollywood in lockstep with the Department of Education that is making these options available. If it was natural, like when I graduated high school, there were gay kids. There were lesbian kids. There wasn't a ton of them. It wasn't an identity. That's another thing. The identity thing
the identity
is very new.
An interesting thing. I agree for sure.
And so it shows you who are they emulating? Who are they copying when they do this stuff? Like, because it's an option. It's just being presented to you. It's obviously not natural if it didn't exist naturally. And
I agree, but culture is a very complicated thing.
Culture is not a complicated thing.
So complicated. I think governments pray that they have the amount of control over culture that you think they do. There's no shot that anybody would be able to top down control that much stuff.
Like I said, there have been a lot of evidence that has come out, whether you're looking at the Jeffrey Epstein case or you're reading through the 72-page document for the Diddy lawsuit that suggests that the government is involved.
Even on the Jeffrey Epstein case, like what's suggesting government involvement here?
What do you mean? What do you mean what's suggesting?
Like what part of the Jeffrey Epstein case is like, oh my God, the government is like playing a part in this?
Well, the fact that he had ties to the Mossad and the CIA, and that when they raided his home, he had his face and about, 6 different passports. Who can issue passports?
Sure, but when we look at
who can issue you a different identity?
I don't know about different identities, but for passports, I imagine you can get that illegally, or you can just get it from countries depending on citizenship status.
Well,
but what I'm saying is that, like, for when we look at Epstein, right? Epstein was a billionaire, right?
Why was he a billionaire?
Why? Because of trading or whatever he did? I'm not really sure.
No, that's the question. Nobody knows why him
I don't know
or
why,
his brother
but there's like a million different.
Sure.
There's lots of people where I don't know how they made their money, but to fill in the gaps of all of this with some.
No, you should always know
conspiracy.
how somebody became a billionaire. That's like a very easy thing. Like somebody should just be like, I became a billionaire, and you have no idea how. Like
I'm sure there are tons of people who are billionaires.
I sold a product. You know why Elon Musk has money. You know why Jeff Bezos has money. You should not say we can't connect the dots on how this person became a billionaire that was able to purchase an island.
Filings aren't always going to be public. That like, oh well, I can figure out exactly why this person became a billionaire. If they don't work in like public traded companies or something, how will you ever know? There's no way you're going to know that.
He did.
Then what's the question?
It's not a question. It's just nobody understands why Jeffrey Epstein or his brother have billions of dollars.
Well, you just said did he have a ton of shares in publicly traded companies?
Just a quick interruption, guys. If you have not liked this video, I would appreciate it if you could smash that like button and subscribe if you're getting value and if you'd like to do so. Plus, guys, if you would like to shop our counterculture designs, which I'm wearing today, which are my favorite shirts on the store, then you can do that today, realitybasedstore.com. We've also got hats, mugs, high quality hoodies, and much more. So if you'd like to support the channel and have some of the most based merch in the entire world, then all of those links will be just below. Let's get back to it.
What do you mean? Did he have a ton
like
of
when we asked, for instance, like, so here's a question. Do you know how Jeff Bezos made his money or how Elon Musk made his money?
I know that Jeff Bezos created Amazon, and I know that Elon Musk has created a ton of things. Tesla, you got Starlink.
Okay, kind of, so not really. Bezos made his money because of the appreciation of shares of Amazon that he had a huge stake in, right? And Elon Musk made a lot of his money. Initially, it was on PayPal and a couple of ventures, and then because he had a huge equity stake in SpaceX and Tesla, especially, that's where they made their money. Is ownership of stock of publicly traded companies. That's what I'm saying. We can look at those people. We can say we know how they made their money. So I don't think Epstein had massive shares in publicly traded companies, did he? So he wouldn't have made.
Did you actually look into the Epstein case, or are you just, because I can't tell right now if your thing is just to be contrarian?
Okay, hold on.
No, I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you because it seems like you're just like, whatever your position is, I'm going to take the opposite and I'm going to say something really quickly and try to say, well, how do we know? And it's like, that's actually quite boring.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, dude, like, let's actually have a real conversation because tons of stuff is happening right now. A lot of stuff is being exposed, right? Mm-hmm. People are for the first time able to grasp a theory that finally makes sense, right? It finally makes sense. It makes sense that there is a blackmail ring operating in DC because we don't understand why we keep sending our politicians to DC and then it's like they completely serve anybody other than the American people, right? So when that Jeffrey Epstein case got exposed, and if you were following it and reading the documents,
I did follow it. I read the entire document, the 80-page report that came out from the government. Did a report on the prison where he supposedly got killed.
And you're realizing how many artists have stood up and said this exact same thing was going on. Now you have somebody that has filed something with proof saying it's going on, and then you just have like a Destiny being like, "Oh, what if it's not going on? What if it's not? Whoa.
Okay, well, sure. So here's like a super...
Oh, maybe WAP is just really just that amazing. People just love talking about vaginas and like mopping the floor. It's like you can do that thing, but it's not interesting. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. All right. It's like, here's just an easy test question so I can get my bearings straight. What do you think about the 91 or so indictments for Donald Trump?
What do you mean?
Do you think that those are credible indictments and have credible evidence behind them?
Well, speak to me specifically about which indictment you're talking about.
So the Mar-a-Lago case.
I actually haven't followed that one, so I'm not going to push back on that one, but I can tell you the ones that I have followed and I've given an answer on. Like, obviously, we've never seen the media or the justice system go after any president in the way that
doesn't matter. You could say the same about P. Diddy. You've never seen the media go after a black artist.
I didn't say it did. It didn't. I didn't finish my statement. Why are you saying it doesn't matter? Why'd you just say that?
I'm just. It could be that nobody's ever done something this.
But I haven't.
Incredible for.
You're so contrarian that you haven't even let me finish.
Why do you keep calling me contrarian?
You haven't even let me finish my sentence. You said that doesn't matter. It's like, what do you?
Because you gave a point that was irrelevant.
I know, but like, I don't understand what you're objecting to. You said
the media's never gone after somebody like this before.
You asked me a question. Mm-hmm. I started to answer it by saying the media has never gone after anyone like this before.
Okay.
And then you just said it doesn't matter. It's like, can I answer the question? Or you just gotta like contradict right away?
I'm not contradicting. I'm just fighting the crazy narratives that prevent anybody from having a real analysis of any of the things going on. But you can lay out your whole thing about.
All right, then since you know my narrative, even though you asked the question, I wasn't able to answer it.
You can answer the question.
I'm glad that you defeat the narrative. No, we're good. We're good. I'm not going to have you ask. I'm not going to actually have you ask a question and then cut me off and say that I'm parroting a narrative when I haven't even told you what my opinion was. That's not you being interesting. That's you being obnoxious.
I think that you're trying to avoid answering the question.
By being cut off by you?
I said you can finish it if you want.
You're trying to avoid answering the question. Quite literally, I was trying to answer the question and you cut me off. So we're good on that. We can move on and talk about something other than Trump and his 95 indictments.
Yeah. So a great diversion there to the Trump case after he was called out. But I mean, what could make one possibly think that there could potentially be some government involvement with the Epstein case? How about we could start with the little black book that had some of the most powerful government figures in the States or from around the world, or his connections to people in all kinds of spheres of influence and power, and how they visited the island to talk business, and of course how he was giving out all kinds of massive grants, and how Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a media giant, and we know that they work together with the government through Operation Mockingbird and the likes, or how on the day that Jeffrey decided to faithfully end it all of the cameras in the prisons just happened to be down, which is convenient for the people that he had dirt on, and he had dirt on some very powerful people. In fact, it appears as though that's what his entire operation was, a massive blackmail ring. And on the behalf of who? Well, that's where it gets very dark and very interesting indeed, but that's where it probably also becomes a Rumble special. But I mean, it's all speculation, guys. There's no real reason to think that there's any government or foreign government interference here whatsoever. And Candace Owens, probably just a conspiracy theorist. And the Diddy stuff, totally unrelated. And we should probably, to be honest, just stop looking into these elites altogether.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
But you see, guys, this is what Destiny and these sort of liberal streamers do. They essentially build their whole model around shilling for the government narrative. And it really does stop and make you wonder why they do that. I mean, Vax is safe and effective. Epstein unalived himself. Ukraine is a thriving democracy, and we need to stop big mean Putin. Trans women are women, and the list just goes on. I mean, it's a really great way to make sure that you never get cancelled. And also, these points are pretty easy to debate with a simple search of Wikipedia, or you can just use ChatGPT. But when you've got someone like Candace in the room with you and you can't do that, then it becomes a lot more tricky. And this is why Destiny gets dragged when he does these in-person debates. We saw what happened to him in the Jubilee debate against Andrew Wilson and all of the other people who weren't even debaters. Fuentes absolutely busted him up, and Trent Horn belted him on whatever. I mean, that's what happens when you can't just sit there, pop Adderall and use ChatGPT. But anyways, we'll move on now to Candace calling out Destiny and basically making him her little bitch.
Mm-hmm. But I do want to say, because I do want to make a point about what you do. Because I did see that you did you did a video and you were like taking the side of hoes. Like you saw this Candace.
Did she say selfish bitch? I must have misheard.
It's a selfish should mention not marry her. That's my
Holy. Oh, I'm gonna get triggered. I feel like I might lose my mind this episode. I agree that these people can be cringe sometimes, but you're saying she's a narcissistic that men shouldn't marry? You're taking that so far.
It's a partnership. It's a bond. It's forever.
But there's no difference between dating and marriage.
There is a difference. You just ignored it because you've got a dialogue tree and a narrative you want to push, and you're not going to engage with anything she's saying. She gave you a perfectly legitimate answer. It is a more permanent form of relationship. It's solidified by law. It's not something you just walk away from or break up from. It's a commitment, ideally for lifetime. She gave you a good answer. You just don't like to hear it because it was a good one, and you weren't expecting a random OnlyFans girl to give you one. And now you're surprised that a bunch of girls that you thought were just going to be titty bimbos are actually giving you a run for your money.
You're still talking.
Okay.
some insecurity coming out of it.
The women today are very low value. Bash anybody.
I'm not bashing. Hold on. I'm not bashing. The women are low value, that they're going to have worse relationships and lives, and they're going to be unhappy. But I'm not bashing them.
Absolutely fascinating to see how someone's mind can be so warped. You know, in the same way that I think it's fascinating.
It's fat, bro.
I've been respectful in listening to, your lifestyle.
No, you're not respectful. I'm actually
sitting down with hoes on the whatever podcast, and you
were being so rude to that lady that made the TikTok. Oh my God.
Okay. But the point is that you then went through
You called her a bitch.
You then went through this video and just tried to justify these lifestyles, right?
I don't think I was trying to justify the lifestyle. What I was doing was I was fighting it back against the insane judgment from one side to the other. We live in America. People should be able to live the lifestyles they want. As long as they're not harming other people, I think everybody has the right to pursue that.
And I just want to say to people that are watching this, to anybody that you follow, literally, you should take a measure and really ask yourself whether or not that person is telling you that stuff because they believe it, or whether or not that person is telling you something that ultimately it feels good because then it means that you can remove yourself from responsibility. Oh, I see, yeah, it's fine, I can be a hoe, whatever, but is going to lead you to misery, right? And so I tell people, I've seen a lot, I've been through a lot, I've lived through a lot, very proud of myself where I've ended up, and I'm trying to provide people the shortcuts. And I'm trying to tell you that, yes, I understand that as a young woman, if you jump onto OnlyFans, you can make money. And you can make money very quickly. But I am also telling you that if you do that, you will, the overwhelming majority of people, can you find an exception? Sure, will regret that sort of a lifestyle.
I think I'd probably agree with you.
And to these young people that are listening to you doing the YOLO, if it makes you happy, don't. I am telling you, throw this out. It is trash.
I agree. You shouldn't do OnlyFans as a young person. You should not
be aspiring to
you shouldn't do OnlyFans as a young person.
Relationships.
You should go to college and get a degree instead.
Somebody that's just holding up a mirror to tell you that you're great and you're doing amazing. You don't need that. You're not great. You can do better, right? Your life is worth more. There are rules that work.
So the way that Candace calls out Destiny there is absolutely beautiful. And she destroys his entire stick of, just do whatever you want, and sex and drugs and rock and roll, and don't listen to the big mean conservatives. He's like a Peter Pan type figure who's telling all of the kids to just stay young forever and come and coom with us in Neverland.
Forget them, Wendy. Forget them all. Come with me.
And when you think about it, it's actually a very weird thing that we see here, because you've got these fully grown men who have these young audiences on Twitch and whatever the gaming platforms are. They're professional gamers and they act like this and they openly champion and defend things like sex work and OnlyFans. And their whole thing is just encouraging cultural degeneracy. Whatever the conservatives want and whatever the traditionalists want, they want the opposite. And it actually does make you pause and wonder, is there a point where this ever becomes just universally unacceptable? How about when you're 60 years old and you have grey hair? Is it still okay in their minds for you to be sitting there at your computer playing games and encouraging 18-year-old girls to go and be online prostitutes? I mean, the whole liberal sort of streaming world and the whole liberal internet world is a bizarre place. And then when you hear stories about the incestuous nature of their relationships, it gets a bit too much, guys. But anyways, on to the next bit now, which is just fantastic because Candace Owens, like other conservative women, and I mean real conservative women and not these sort of feminists laughing as conservatives, Candace and these sorts of women have a genuine disdain for these sorts of weak men that have no desire to take responsibility whatsoever and preach a good message to other young men who are coming up. Men who want to live like college boys when they're just way past that. Watch Candace absolutely rip into him here about his own lifestyle choices and what he actually stands for. And you can tell it strikes a nerve because it is so true. And with recent developments about Destiny's own life over the past year or so, and particularly recently,
Huck to and spit on that thing. You get me?
which we will not go into, because quite frankly, if you don't know about this sort of stuff, then that's for the best for you. But with all that in mind, once again, it aged particularly well for Candace. Let's get into it.
Well, like I said, I tell people how I actually live and what I actually believe, and I don't know that you do that. Don't justify women acting like whores.
Well, I don't justify trying to prescribe lifestyles to people.
What?
Don't justify trying to prescribe lifestyles to people.
It's not prescribing a lifestyle.
Of course
it's just,
it is. When somebody said that they would be happy not having kids, you were like, oh, she sounds like a conceited bitch or something.
That's not what she said.
That was the TikTok clip you were responding to.
That was not what she said, and I can tell you exactly what she said.
That she was got to go on
I said there was absolutely no reason to make a comment that suggests that she was actually being insulting to people that had kids. It wasn't just one video. She makes multiple videos about how great life is if you don't have kids. If I was making videos with my kids saying about how great life is if you just, stop being a loser and get married, people would come after you because people hate the traditional lifestyle on display.
Wait, but that's literally what you guys say. Get married, have kids. That's the only way to go. Otherwise, you're a loser.
No, we do not. You're just making up words that have never come out of my mouth.
So if somebody said, if there was a young woman and she was like, I'm 20, I think I want to go to a career and be whatever. I don't think I want to have a family. I don't think life's for me. You would say, okay, well, that's fine. You should make that choice.
No, I would say that's completely normal at 20 years old. That's
wait. So then they should change their opinion later on. What if she was 25 or 30 and she's like, no, I don't think I want to have kids? Would you be, okay, that's fine?
If she was a 20-year-old person and she was saying that I don't think that I want to have kids, then what I would say is that's pretty typical because you're 20 years old and you haven't yet had the biology thing happen to you, which like when they say that your biological clock starts ticking, it's very real. When you get into your mid-20s, you have a totally different feeling.
So if a woman is 25 or 30 and says, I don't think I want to have kids, I think I like my career, I'm going to stick with it, you'd say, okay, that's fine. It's your choice.
Yeah, as long as that person isn't trying to, and by the way, I think that person would probably be, it would be unusual. Like it wouldn't be, the majority of women I think do want to have families and want to aspire to family, and that's fine. But when you try to create a brand of it and you say things like, oh, well, if you have kids, then you can't just smoke pot and stay in bed and be naked all day. This is actually something that like Seth Rogen just said.
Okay.
What you're doing
Sounds
there is
awesome.
you're actually trying to, you're 30, how old are you? You're 35 years old.
Yep.
Okay, so what is that? What do I do? Like if you were 20 and you were saying this stuff,
I travel the world. I get to research and talk about whatever I want. I get to talk to cool people like you and other people. I live in Miami in a high rise for $5,000 a month. I mean, I think my life is pretty okay. I mean,
but I'm saying like, what are you doing when you're trying to sell to people that being a hoe is cool, smoking pot, saying
I don't necessarily think that being a hoe is cool.
Are you going to age out of that?
Because
you're a 35-year-old man, right? And you're kind of doing the like, I'm a college dorm kid and I'm trying to make everything sound cool. But I just want to point out the fact that you're a 35-year-old man and your words should matter and they should have weight. Like I said, if you were 20, I'd be like, I get it. When you're 35. Say things with conviction. Say things that have meaning.
Plenty of things with conviction, yes.
And
like when I asked you, what would you recommend to a woman at 25 and 30? I didn't just start rambling about what a 20-year-old should do and how biologically blah, 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 blah. I would say exactly what I would tell a woman at 25 or 30.
Yeah, I know, but your behavior, and I will appreciate that people that are younger won't understand what I'm saying until you hit 35, which is, I'm going to be 35 this year.
Okay.
you're acting like you're a college dorm kid.
Yeah, and your catty insults towards people online make you seem like a high school mean girl.
Okay.
I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, we all have our things.
But you're
like,
selling to them things that you know aren't good. So
what do you think I'm selling to them?
If you
What do you
were
think I'm
a
selling that I know
25-year-old,
isn't good?
like when I'm on the Whatever podcast and I'm surrounded by women that are in their 20s and they're saying like, you know, the whole life is good. The reason why I said to that girl that I'm going to pray for you is because I know that she's going to have a different perspective when she's older. So I'm not upset by that. I don't feel like that needs to be attacked when those young girls are around me and we're talking about all of these topics. When I'm sitting with a 35-year-old man, okay? And
what do you think I'm selling people?
And you know better, okay?
Wait, what do you think I'm selling people?
Well,
do you think I'm telling people to be a hoe?
What I said when you were defending the lifestyle of being a hoe, why are you doing that?
I don't think I defend the lifestyle of being a hoe.
You did. You did a whole video basically saying that none of my points of me trying to tell these women that they essentially, you can do something better. You don't have to sell your body. This was your like snazzy video. Come back to it. Why are you making a comeback? Yes, you can make a video and be like, why can't someone do heroin? But why would you as a 35-year-old man want to sell something to someone or make it seem okay or cool or relevant when you know it's harmful to them? I don't get that because of your age.
So I don't understand. I don't know what your takeaway from the video was, or if there are researchers that give you like talking points to my videos. But generally what I talk about is when it comes to lifestyle, you have to analyze both sides of things. If you grow up incredibly religiously conservative and you are like shamed out of sex and you don't have sex with anybody your whole life because you're super, hyper cognizant of your virginity and all of these like weird things, and that's like coming from an unhealthy external place, to say, oh, well, maybe that's worth exploring. On the flip side, if you grow up like hyper liberal and you fuck like 20 guys by the time you're 20 years old and you just want to bang everybody and you've got like weird associations with men and everything, I'd say, hey, you should probably slow down. It's probably not healthy. I just encourage people to like explore honestly, to have like conversations with themselves, with their parents, could be with priests, could be with therapists, could be whatever, and to kind of figure out like what works for them and don't get pushed into one direction from a culture side. It could be the left encouraging people to be way too promiscuous, or it could be the right for people that are shaming people for being promiscuous and saying that, well, this one lifestyle of family stuff is going to biologically be suited towards you as you get older. I think both of these are equally stupid because it just pushes people in the other direction.
So you don't believe in anything? Is what you're saying.
Is that what you got from that?
Well, you're not committing to anything.
I believe in actually thinking for yourself. That's what I think. I think that every human being roughly exists in this like paradigm where if you fuck 100 people by the time you're 20, probably not healthy. If you've never had sex before and you're 30, probably not healthy. And that you should probably like try to gravitate towards what are like human norms, and then what are things that make you happy depending on your culture, depending on your geography. And then you kind of like explore in there, and don't be shamed out of exploring from one side to the other. Don't be pushed into something because somebody like Candace Owens or somebody like Stephen Bunnell tells you that you have to do a particular thing, but just like kind of explore.
I don't
and figure
tell
out
people
things.
that they have to do a particular thing, but if I see somebody that's doing heroin, I'm not going to be like, it is whatever, and it's just like whatever. You're just
do you think that heroin is comparable to recreational sex?
I am, quite frankly, I actually think a woman, as the one that I sat across from when you were critiquing this video, who says that she slept with up to, 20 men per night, yeah, it's just as bad. And I know that has to be hurting her soul. So I look at her as a human being.
Hurting her soul? What if she just has a different lifestyle than you?
Doesn't.
Completely. No, she does. No,
what do you mean? She's telling you, she was very honest actually. And that's why I appreciate her, because she was very honest that for her, it is just about money. Okay. But when I see that individual, when a young woman is saying that she'll sleep and see up to 10 to 20 clients per night, that's a broken individual. And it's just as when you see somebody who says that, they're doing heroin or doing this, they don't need the cool guy at the party to be like, yeah, man, it's whatever. Like, it's like, no, you actually like structure. You need somebody to say to you, you don't have to do this. There's so much better potential within you. You are young. You have your entire life ahead of you. Let's figure out what it is that you're great at. I understand the economic concerns. It's a really tough economy and it's easy money, but there's other things that you can do to make money that will give you better self-value. And so that's why I say that I think that what you're doing as a 35-year-old man is you're lying. You're just lying to
Do you think
people.
I'm telling women on average that fucking 20 guys a night is a good idea?
When you make videos and you're replying to conservatives who are rightfully saying that this lifestyle is not good, which should be abundantly clear to every single person, yeah, what you're trying to do is lie in a clever way. And ultimately, like I said, if you were 20, I'd be fine with it. But when
First of all, I don't know why if I was 20, why that would make you fine with it.
Because
you'd have the same influence in your audience regardless.
Because your brain's not developed when you're 20.
Number two, so what? Your brain's always developing as you grow.
No, your brain develops when you're 25, 26 years old. And so when you see a 20-year-old and they have a bunch of positions, I don't hold them to it.
So Candace is absolutely right about this. I mean, for a 20-year-old guy, if I hear this sort of stuff, 20-year-olds are retarded and they shouldn't even be able to vote or anything, but that's for a different video. So if I hear a 20-year-old saying the things that Destiny says about sex and drugs and just do whatever you want all the time, man, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, I can understand that and think, you're young, you're in your early 20s. whatever it is, you're retarded at the moment, but as life goes on, you'll adopt a little bit more responsibility and you'll have to actually contend with the realities of life, and you can't live in this sort of young person's delusion anymore. And when I was in my early 20s, I used to think the exact same way as this, which is not that long ago. But I think that there's a big difference between that and then being towards 30. There's a certain sort of masculine arc that has to happen, a certain maturation process that men have to go through. You might have your own family to take care of. You might have sick and dying relatives that you have to take care of. You might start a business. You might have friendships and relationships that break down. You might have to deal with the heartache of all of that. You'll no doubt make terrible mistakes that you wish you could have back. And all of these sorts of things, they build character and they force you to adopt a set of principles, and they make you a more wise and discerning individual. And hopefully life steers you down a path where you're actually accountable to other people and people are relying on you. And you're not just in this state of just constantly following your primal urges of pleasures of the flesh and materialism. But I mean, I guess it's a calculated risk by these guys, because if you do the whole just do whatever you want, man, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll act, and I don't care about anything and just nihilism, if you just sell nihilism, then I guess you'll have quite an audience these days. But actually, I don't know how long that's going to last, because just the way I see things going, the way I see the cultural winds blowing, people are actually kind of sick of individuals like Destiny. And people are actually kind of just over being sold a false bill of nihilism and degeneracy. They're seeing the cultural fruits and the societal fruits of what happens when we allow and enable people like this. And I think that a lot of people are now just looking at that and just thinking, yeah, no thank you. Not for me. And if you are one of those people, guys, then you should definitely get yourself some of that counterculture merch from the reality-based store, because that is the counterculture these days, and these shirts will age very well. And also, if you haven't liked the video and subscribed, I would appreciate that. And if you'd like to watch another video, then you can click right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.